All right, I think we're good to go. I don't see anybody else joining. If they do, I'll just add as we go. But good morning,
Okay.
everyone. We appreciate you joining this morning. It's actually mind-blowing how fast the days and months go. We're already here in October, and a couple more months to end the year. And it's been an interesting year, but ultimately, we're glad everyone is doing well. So we're going to get started. David, if you want to kick it off, and then at the end, there's a video that Zia wants me to show, and then we'll take any questions or something along the way.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I want to talk to you about the winter and storm conditions that are going to be coming up. We're in California. We have a hard time with drivers because they don't know what snow is. And probably drivers in Florida, the same thing. Going up into the cold and areas where there's snow and ice is a new experience. But in preparation for all of that, before you go out, you need to be checking your weather reports, especially now. Changes in the weather, what forecasts, what weathers are going to be, not just in the area where you are, but where you're going to be headed. And during your trip, the same thing. You got a weather on your radio, put the weather report on and see what's going on ahead of you. The weather man. Before you go out, you should be making sure you have plenty of rest. And hang on a second here. Plenty of rest, and during your trip, make sure you get enough sleep. Shouldn't be leaving out without enough rest and sleep. Pre-trip becomes even more important than it usually does. Your pre-trip, it's going to be hard to be figuring out what's wrong with your truck while you're out there in the cold and the snow, or heavy rains, or where there's ice. You want to be making sure that your pre-trip is really done. Particularly checking, which is a DOT requirement, your windshield wiper blades and your window defogger. They have to be working. That's part of the DOT requirement. Okay. You should be wearing or taking with you extra clothing for the weather. Parkas, warm underwear, extra sweatshirts, extra hoodies, parkas. My guys have parkas that they've purchased with the hoods on them. Making sure you have gloves and boots, so that if you are stranded, you will stay warm while you're sitting in your truck for a while. We've had trucks stranded for a couple of days, and you need to be ready for that. You should have on the truck scrapers for your windows to keep your windows clean. Maybe a small shovel, but dependable shovel for snow if you need to. And also maybe a bag of cat litter, something that will give you traction if you get stuck. You should always be looking out for maintaining your distance, your stopping distance. You're going to need a longer distance, so your following distance should be increased by almost twice as much. Also, because other people are going to be out there driving in a way that maybe is not so safe, and they're going to do stupid, dumb things and may do a spin out in front of you. You're going to have a hard time stopping, and they're not going to have good traction either. So to avoid that, increase your following distance, watch your speed, and be easy on your braking. If you're going to make a turn that looks like it might be on an icy road, make your brake slow down before you get to the turn. You don't want to head into the turn at the same speed that you would if it was a good road. Okay. Black ice and ice are a real issue. How do you know when you're on black ice? You will know because your RPM indicator your RPMs will jump from whatever 1250 or so up to 2000 very quickly. That means that your drive tires are spinning. You've lost traction. What's the first thing you do? First, you disconnect the engine from the rear tires. So you have to find out a way to do in neutral. In a stick shift, it's easy. All you have to do is put in a clutch. But you should also know how to put an automatic into neutral in the manual thing. And that can take some practice. So you might want to, before you go out, practice putting it in neutral, because you only have about a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds before you're going to go jackknife on you, because the tires are still being pushed by the engine. And because there is, the tires will spin, whichever one has the least traction will spin the fastest. So that means you got one side of your truck pushing faster the other side of the truck, which will put you out of straight position. So you need to hang on 1 second.
I might have lost them. 1 second.
We're right over bump and I hit the wrong button. Okay. Anyway, so that makes your truck go out of whack, turn sideways. The thing you need to be able to do, if you're going straight, to just put the truck in neutral and steer out of it. Let it slow down on its own. Do not apply the brakes. The brakes will do the same thing in terms of throwing you out of position, because one side of your brakes is going to grab faster than the other. That's just physics. And if one side of your tires are spinning and the other side is locked down, you're going to be out of position, and usually in a jackknife position, which is something you don't really want. So practice getting your truck, if you have an automatic, practice getting your truck into neutral. You have a manual positions on the automatic, and you need to figure out how to do that before, so you know. Putting the truck in neutral in a stick shift is something that you need to practice, because it's counterintuitive. You would think the first thing you would do is put on the brake, which you should never do. You should automatically just put in the clutch. Okay. Following distance, again, is something you really need to pay attention to. Adjust your speed. Going up and down a hill. Going up and down hills are another issue in terms of traction. You can lose traction going up a hill, and you can lose traction going down the hill. You really have to watch your speed going down. Okay? Adjust your speed before you get there. Now, ice on the road usually forms on bridges and overpasses, because the air can get underneath them, and it gets colder there faster than it does on the road. The road is connected to the earth, and the earth sometimes can be warmer than the air, depending on how cold it's going to get. You need to watch out for snow plows and graders and heavy equipment on the road that is out there to service the road so that you can drive on it. Have a issue maybe with your brakes. If you have a brake check area, pull over and check your brakes. Make sure they're working correctly. Okay? Do that before you hit the hill or before you go down a long grade. If you're driving through rain, sometimes your rain is just a little bit of rain. You can hydroplane the truck if the road is just wet a little bit. especially if it's wet a little bit and the temperature is in the 30s. That means that the water is a little colder and it won't move out of the way. It won't spray the same, and you can hydroplane in a wet road that is in the 30s faster than you can on a wet road that's in the 70s or even the 60s. So be careful of that. This is particularly something you should be careful of if it is also just windy and snow. Another thing you should be looking out for is fog. The air is cold and there's moisture in the air driving in the fog. I always tell drivers, if you're driving in fog, you should drive as if there is a brick wall that they have constructed across the highway, but you don't know where it is. And that brick wall, most of the time, is other vehicles that have had accidents, and they are now piled up in front. If you see any reports on pileups, they happen during sandstorms and fog. Not so much as in snowstorms, but in fog. Be sure to drive with your fog lights, not your high beams or your low beams. If you happen to be in the newer models of Freightliners, they have the military grade lights that will penetrate fog. If you don't have those, make sure you're not using high beams to be driving in the fog. And slow down. If you get stuck in a foggy area, do not stop on the road. Because what tends to happen is in the fog, people will follow the lights that are ahead of them. And if you're on the side of the road, they will think that you are somebody that they can follow and can run into the back of you. Pull over to the side. Make sure you have your flashers on, and if you can, put your triangles out, and be very careful, especially if you know that there's some traffic up ahead. If you get stranded in a snowstorm, one of the things you can do before that is to make sure you take enough food and enough water to be stranded for a couple of days. We've had drivers do that. They pulled into a truck stop in Texas and literally were there for 2 days. The rain and the snow kept them, the road closures, and piled up snow and ice on one side of the truck to the point where the truck actually was leaning on one side because the weight of the snow and ice was more on one side than on the other. But they went into the flying J, I guess it was, if I remember it correctly, and got several sandwiches and water. The next morning when they got up, enough trucks had pulled into a truck stop, they had run out of food and water. So if you, when you're in an area where you think it might be snow, it might be cold, bring enough water, bring enough extra food so that if you need to, you can have something to eat and to drink. If you get stuck in your truck and you're isolated in bad weather and you can't move, keep your lights on. Keep the lights on inside the truck. You may want to put a T-shirt or a flag or something halfway rolled up your window so someone knows that you're there. And keep the truck running as little as possible. Conserve your fuel, but put it on to make sure you're at least warm, and that's why you wear the additional warm clothing. And then if you can do some exercises in the truck, do some exercises to keep warm in addition to that. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Hello?
Yeah,
Anybody?
I have a question.
Okay,
We
go
don't
ahead.
have questions. Most
The
likely.
thing, I have one.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
on average, how long are trucks stranded if that does happen?
Usually it's no more than 24 hours because a lot of the, especially like in the north, they are prepared for it. But going through the south, through Alabama, through Georgia, through parts of Tennessee, they're not used to that kind of weather. They don't have snow plows. They don't have I should say salt trucks or cinder trucks to prepare the roads, and so those roads are more dangerous than like if you're going through Colorado. Colorado's pretty good. They have teams that go out and clear the roads pretty quickly. Same thing with the roads in the north. It's the southern roads that are really have a problem. Virginia, Tennessee, southern Kentucky, parts of southern Indiana, those areas, Baltimore, Maryland, places that are not quite the south. They don't have preparedness to keep the roads clean. So I would say usually if it's a snow area, it's 1 day. But our guys got stuck in Texas for 2.5 days. They actually were there for 2 days. They went all the way across Texas. They got stuck for another day on the other end of Texas. So that's just
wow. Thank you.
In our experience, David, Aaron, our drivers always, that's why we always invite the drivers to check on the weather. We send text for the drivers if we know the areas that they are traveling to. We also send notifications of the weather, and we always let them know if it's too cold or if it's cold, no, not cold. If it's snowing and it's not safe, then they should not accept a run to an area that is not safe. In that way, they don't get stranded. And here's where we see the importance of checking the weather and to do make good choices when you are accepting a trip. Okay, if also some of the drivers are saying if it's extremely snowy that you have to put the chains, then we're not gonna drive at a certain time. We wait until it's safe, and they always communicate with us. But please check the weather, okay?
Absolutely. Any other questions? If anybody has questions on the call, just make sure you unmute your phone. Okay. I'm going to show the video that you sent. David, we appreciate the good information that you provided. Hopefully all the drivers take notes and some of the stuff that, you may or may not have heard or you haven't heard in a long time. Good refreshers as we enter into the winter months. And the goal is for everyone to go out and return home safely to their families every trip, and be able to go through this peak season as we're going to already enter into, doing it all safely. Dave, I'm not sure if you want to stay on for the videos or not. All right, we're going to show, let me switch the screens here.
Urban Bohemian Cowboy. Well, we're over here on top of Mount Eagle. Excuse me. Getting ready to go down up here. And they got a mandatory grade check area up here. Caution, steep grade, next 4.5 miles. This one's mandatory for trucks to pull in here. Truck inspection station. All trucks must exit. And they got 2 rows up here, 2 lines. before you get into, and there's a red light and it gives you the green light when to go. It alternates each lane. And they got a parking area up here too there, this side of the stop and the one before. And brake adjustment area, radar strictly enforced. And then it shows what the grade is up here and where the runaway ramp is, and diagram of the mountain going down, Mount Eagle up here. And as you can see that there is a and grade and 6% grade. Truck inspection station, runaway ramp, ramp number 2, exit mile marker 138. Then it shows what the speed limit is, 70,000 to 75, 35 mile an hour max, and shows the grades up here. Oh, guess what? My manual's not working. But yeah, it is. Okay. It shows 6% grade for 4 miles. And 6% grade, 4 miles. Trucks use lower gear. A lot of these guys are light, and they come across here just about every day. But I still like taking my time. Some of these, like I said, some of these guys are empty. And not a lot of traffic out here, though. 6% grade, 3 more miles. Pretty country up here, though, especially in the summer and the fall. Trees all green, changing colors. And as you can see, the runaway ramp is to the left up here. Most places, mountains, they're always to the right. But some areas, they don't have the room to make an escape ramp, runaway ramp, on the right. He's over there by Salt Lake City's that way too there. It goes to the left. And as you can see, there's where the first runaway ramp is up here to the left. They got the blacktop next to it there to where the wrecker can go up there to hook onto and pull you back out. And 6% grade for 2 more miles. Trucks use lower gear. Here's where the second runaway ramp is up here, 3/4 of a mile. And that one goes to the left too. Speed limit 55, trucks 45. Here's a warning sign again up here to recommended speed for 70 to 75,000 pounds, and then 75 to 70. My four-way's on, so everybody back to behind me knows I'm going slow. That camper's got their bikes along and their boats. Going down to warmer country. There you can see where the second runway ramp is. Beautiful country out here, though. There's some tracks in there from a corner or something. But, not too far left, we'll be down to the bottom down here shortly. As you can see down there is where it levels out. There's a deer on the side of the road over here. Oh. Sitting there. Grass. So we're just about to the bottom down here, so. Be trails, be safe. Bye.
All right, what an interesting video for sure. Xenia, is there any, I know you have some more information here for FedEx updates. Do you want to cover those?
Yes, I want to cover those. And for the video, I think that the most important message that we can see in that video, it's like how other drivers decide to go down the hill faster than the speed limit sign that the speed that this, oh my gosh, the velocity that was allowed by law. So we need to follow those speed limit sign. They are there for a reason. And if something happened, then it will come back as a preventable for us. And we don't want that happen. So for the updates, we have that make sure you're wearing, once again, your seatbelt all the time. And ensure that you're using in the tractor the hand-free device, so you don't hold your phone ever. Never you can touch your phone or hold it in your hand. If the police see you, they will give you a ticket. Then for the coupling, make sure that you have the chains and the pinto hook, hoses, cables, and fifth wheel latch properly connected. In FedEx, they are saying there has been a couple of improperly assembly, and it's becoming an issue, and you're gonna get disqualified. Something like that happen. Do not rush. Please don't rush. Cameras. We're having some events where sometimes, and this is where the rush comes, sometimes people are taking off the seatbelt before they do a complete stop. If the camera creates an event and you're taking off your seatbelt, it's gonna count that you don't have your seatbelt on. So please wait until you reach a complete stop before you remove your seatbelt. Just adjust the speed to conditions. We want you back home safely. And then for hours of services, please read carefully before you accept the hours. And please certify your logbook every day. Also, we're going to start with the formal and informal observations. They're gonna start very soon, and it's gonna be around the yard with the camera system, with you in the truck, and Amado is gonna help us with that. So you're going to see Amado, Ruben, maybe Ian doing the formal evaluations for you guys, okay? Do not cover the camera, and remember you have the sleeper berth net, use that as well. And out of that, thank you so much for everything you guys do on a daily basis. We really appreciate you. That's it, Aaron.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great week and stay safe out there.